4-year-old Ava Harper, a bright and playful child, spending a sunny afternoon at Lincoln Park with her babysitter, Cassandra Bell. Her mother, Jenna Harper, works a half-day at the local clinic. Witnesses recall seeing Ava near the swing set, giggling and showing off her twirls in her favorite purple dress. Cassandra had momentarily stepped away to answer a phone call near the restrooms. When she returned, Ava was gone. At first, Cassandra assumed Ava had wandered toward the sandbox. But after 10 frantic minutes of searching and calling her name, panic began to spread. Other parents joined in. Someone called 911. Within the hour, police arrived and sealed off the park. Drones swept the nearby wooded area. Divers scanned the pond. Search dogs were brought in. No screams had been heard. No one remembered seeing anyone unusual leave the park with a child. And Ava, a child who feared strangers and rarely left her mother's side, had vanished without a trace. Jenna arrived at the scene, eyes wild, her voice hoarse from screaming her daughter's name. Cassandra sobbed, repeating the same thing. I just turned away for a second. But as investigators dug into the details, a troubling inconsistency emerged. Cassandra claimed she had stepped away for 2 minutes. But her call log told a different story. Cassandra told police she had answered a call from her sister, claiming it lasted only 2 minutes. But cell phone records showed the call lasted nearly 18 minutes, far longer than she admitted. That changed everything. When questioned again, Cassandra grew defensive. She now claimed she saw a man near the restrooms, mid-30s, average height, holding Ava's hand and walking away. But when asked for a description, her answers grew vaguer. She couldn't recall his clothes, his hair color, even his face. Detectives pressed harder. Why hadn't she mentioned the man sooner? Why lie about the phone call? Jenna, desperate for answers, began to doubt the woman she had trusted with her daughter's life. Cassandra had been like family, but the inconsistencies were too glaring. Police searched Cassandra's apartment for clues. Nothing indicated involvement, until they checked her laptop. Deleted messages. Search history wiped clean. A few fragments recovered showed inquiries about custody rights, parental abduction laws, and private adoption. Then, 2 nights after the laptop search, Cassandra disappeared. Her apartment was found empty. No signs of struggle. No signs of packing. Her car was left in the lot. Cell phone off. Social media accounts deactivated. It was as if she vanished into thin air. Neighbors mentioned a strange car parked outside her building the night before, an older model van with out-of-state plates. No one recognized it, and by morning, it was gone. Jenna was devastated. For days, she sat in front of the TV, clinging to old home videos of Ava. Her daughter's laughter echoed through a house, now filled with silence. Meanwhile, investigators began to re-interview witnesses from the park. One elderly woman, initially overlooked, now recalled something chilling. A man had been pacing by the restrooms that day. She remembered because he wasn't watching the kids. He was watching Cassandra. A grainy surveillance image surfaced, taken from a traffic cam a few blocks from Cassandra's apartment the night she vanished. A woman matching her build was seen getting into a van. The driver's face was turned away, never identified. Detectives speculated on several theories. Was Cassandra abducted by someone she knew? Was she complicit and now on the run with Ava? Or had she gotten in over her head, only to be silenced? Cassandra's bank account sat untouched. No credit cards used. No calls made from her number again. Jenna started receiving calls from people claiming to be psychics or tipsters, offering false hope for money. Her trust eroded. Her circle shrank. But something deeper had shifted in her. The loss didn't paralyze her anymore. It transformed her into a tireless researcher. She learned to dig through online records, map trafficking routes, compare missing child databases. Every night, her search widened. In the days following Cassandra's disappearance, law enforcement attempted to track her through financial transactions and digital footprints, but it was as if she had planned to vanish. The search extended across state lines. Authorities located Cassandra's mother in a small town in Oregon. She hadn't heard from her daughter in days. Visibly shaken, she admitted that Cassandra had seemed paranoid during their last conversation. Fearful, jumpy, constantly looking over her shoulder. Media coverage exploded. National news picked up Ava's story again, triggering an outpouring of public interest. Tips flooded in from across the country. There was a potential sighting in a grocery store in Illinois. Security footage showed a woman resembling Cassandra with a little girl. But after a thorough investigation, the pair was identified as a local mother and child. A week later, another tip came from New Mexico. A waitress claimed she served a woman who nervously asked about child shelters and looked like someone on the news. Police arrived hours later, but the lead went cold. Each false sighting further crushed Jenna's hope. The quiet ache of not knowing transformed into a void that no amount of time could fill. Holidays came and went, each one heavier than the last. Jenna began attending therapy, not because she believed it would bring closure, but because she needed to learn how to breathe again. Still, she never stopped searching. Her laptop's homepage remained the same, a collage of Ava's photos. And her browser? Always open to missing persons forums, local arrest records, and online reverse image searches. She printed missing posters every year on Ava's birthday. She added age-progressed sketches, updated her blog, shared interviews, hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone would recognize her little girl. Friends tried to move her forward. "You have to let go," they said. But Jenna knew in her heart, her daughter was out there. 12 years pass. Jenna has transformed her pain into purpose. She becomes a youth advocate, speaking at events and helping other parents navigate the trauma of missing children. Though the world has moved on, Ava's case lingers in the unsolved archives, now officially labeled as cold. Jenna refuses to accept closure without truth. Then, something unexpected happens. Detective Luis Mero, now retired and nearing 70, reaches out to Jenna. He hands her a sealed envelope containing copies of his old field notes and photos from the early days of Ava's disappearance. One note stands out, an entry that mentions a faint crescent-shaped birthmark on Ava's right shoulder blade. It had been described in Ava's pediatric records, but never widely reported in the press. The birthmark had always been deeply personal. Jenna remembered tracing its curve as she put Ava to sleep at night. 2 weeks later, Jenna is scrolling through social media when a video catches her attention, a viral dance performance filmed at a statewide talent competition. The girl in the video looks like any other teenager, graceful and focused. But then, at exactly 18 seconds in, the camera angle shifts as the girl twirls. Her sleeve rises, and just for a split second, Jenna sees it. A crescent-shaped mark on her shoulder. Her breath catches. Her hand trembles over the pause button. The birthmark. The girl's face is familiar in a way Jenna can't explain. Matured, different, but somehow, undeniably Ava. Jenna replays the moment over and over, her heart pounding. Could this be the proof she's been waiting for? Jenna studies the video with meticulous care, slowing it frame by frame. In the moments following the twirl, as the girl pauses in her dance, her shirt slides just enough to reveal another detail. Just above the crescent birthmark is a small tattoo. A single name. Cass. The sight of it sends shivers down Jenna's spine. The name isn't common, and it immediately draws her back to Cassandra Bell, the babysitter who vanished the same night as Ava. Could it be coincidence? Or was it a mark left by someone trying to leave their own story behind? Jenna freezes the frame. The girl's face, now still, looks eerily familiar. There's a particular way she lifts her chin, just like Ava used to do when she was proud of herself. The lines of her eyes, the way she closes them after the final pose. It's her. Jenna contacts Detective Mero immediately. Though retired, he responds that same evening. He agrees. The resemblance is striking. They both stare at the still image of the girl mid-dance. Ava's childhood features ghosting through her teenage face. Jenna begins a digital search to trace the origin of the video. She finds the original post and its tags, a regional talent show held just a week prior. The video is tagged with a location, Monroe, Nebraska, a small town Jenna's never heard of. Her heart races. Monroe is hundreds of miles away. But if this girl, is there, then everything changes. Jenna whispers to herself, Monroe. Her fingers hover over the keyboard. And for the first time in 12 years, she books a one-way ticket. Jenna travels to Monroe. The town is quiet, rural, surrounded by fields and winding roads. The kind of place where secrets can hide in plain sight. She visits the dance studio featured in the video and signs up as a volunteer for their upcoming recital, using a different last name. Posing as a retired costume seamstress, she offers to help with fittings. Through the studio, she learns the girl's name, Eliza Bell. Eliza is 16, adopted, homeschooled, reserved. but her grace on stage stands in contrast to her quiet demeanor. The studio owner says Eliza was adopted at age 5. No other details given. She's lived with her adoptive mother ever since. Catherine Bell. The name hits Jenna like a wave. Bell. That evening, Jenna parks near the Bell residence. It's small, secluded, and in the front yard stands the same older van seen in the surveillance photo from 12 years ago. The next day, Jenna meets Eliza face-to-face for the first time. They lock eyes. Eliza tilts her head, curious. "Have we met before?" she asks. Jenna forces a smile, her heart pounding in her chest. Jenna dives deeper into Monroe's paper trail. At the local records office, she discovers that Eliza Bell's adoption file is sparse, barely a page of information. The documents list Karen Bell as her adoptive mother, with Cassandra Bell cited as the biological mother. No mention of a father. No detailed background. The agency that handled the adoption? Shut down nearly a decade ago after an internal audit revealed forged paperwork and irregular placements. Names were redacted, cases buried. Determined to get answers, Jenna finds Karen Bell's address. It's a small, neatly kept house on the edge of town. That evening, she arrives unannounced, claiming to be a representative from a regional youth mentorship program. Karen is cautious but polite, eventually inviting Jenna inside. Karen Bell is in her late 50s. She's warm, soft-spoken, and extremely protective of Eliza. Family photos line the mantel, most of Eliza at dance recitals or reading in the garden. None of Cassandra. Over tea, Jenna inquires gently about Eliza's background. Karen hesitates, then explains that Eliza came into her life through tragedy. Cassandra, her younger sister, had given birth as a single woman and struggled with depression and instability. Karen says Cassandra asked her to raise Eliza to give her a better life. What happened to Cassandra? Jenna asks. Karen's eyes shift. She sighs, then says quietly, "She passed away. Years ago. Boating accident. Off the coast near Oregon." The room goes silent. Jenna's heart skips. She had followed Cassandra's trail all those years ago to Oregon. No obituary had surfaced. No official news. Just a dead end. Later that night, Jenna searches public death records. There is no death certificate for Cassandra Bell. No police reports. No boating accident log matching that time frame or name. The more Jenna investigates, the more tangled the truth becomes. Was Karen lying to protect Cassandra? Or was she covering up something far more dangerous? The next day, Jenna casually mentions Cassandra's name to Eliza during a walk outside the studio. "Cass? That's what my mom used to call her sister," Eliza says. "But I don't remember her. She died when I was really little." "Did she ever talk about where she lived?" Jenna asks. "No. I asked once when I was younger, but Mom got really upset. Said it wasn't important. Just that she loved me." Jenna feels the weight of the years pressing down on her. She believes Eliza is Ava, her daughter. But belief isn't proof. She needs something concrete. Something undeniable. Later that night, Jenna revisits her conversation with Karen in her head, picking it apart. The way she avoided eye contact. The tremble in her voice when talking about Cassandra. And the photos, carefully curated, devoid of anyone who could link Eliza's past to a life before Monroe. Jenna opens an old folder containing Ava's baby medical records and notices something Karen could never have known, unless she was there the day Ava was born. Jenna Harper had spent over a decade searching for her daughter. Now, with the viral video of Eliza Bell and the unmistakable crescent birthmark, she was closer than she'd ever dared to imagine. But suspicion wasn't proof. And emotion, no matter how powerful, couldn't win custody or crack a case. She needed facts. Solid ones. So she turned to Lyle Brenton. Lyle wasn't flashy. He worked from a cluttered office in the back of a tire shop and barely kept up with technology, but he had one of the best reputations in the state for tracking cold trails and making sense of twisted timelines. Jenna handed him everything. Her journals, printed stills from the dance video, notes from retired Detective Marrow, and most importantly, Karen and Cassandra Bell's names. Lyle worked fast. Within a week, he came back with a clean file on Karen Bell. She had taught piano lessons for years in Monroe. No criminal record. No history of moving around. Lived modestly and paid her taxes on time. But it was Cassandra's name that triggered something different. "She's got sealed juvenile records," Lyle said. "Which doesn't mean guilt, but it means there's something someone didn't want public." After some maneuvering and a few quiet calls to a retired judge, Lal got limited access to one record. Cassandra Bell, arrested at 17 for attempted custodial interference. Jenna's heart seized in her chest. Lal slid the photocopy across the table. No trial. Charges dropped. But there's one name mentioned by the caseworker. He tapped his finger slowly under a line near the bottom. Child known to the defendant, Ava Harper. Jenna stared at the words, her breath caught between disbelief and horror. It wasn't just that Cassandra had taken Ava. She had tried before. Back then, Jenna had hired Cassandra as a babysitter after months of glowing recommendations. She was quiet, patient, sweet with Ava. But Jenna had no idea Cassandra had already tried to claim Ava once before, tried and failed. And when the charges were dropped, nothing had stopped her from trying again. Jenna's mind spiraled. Was Karen aware? Had she helped? Or had she been manipulated too, believing she was adopting her sister's child under tragic circumstances? Lal wasn't done. She disappeared the same week Ava did. Like a ghost. She was Cassandra Bell up until that day, and then, nothing. No bank activity. No new address. Just a blank. The only thread left was the reappearance under Karen Bell's roof, with a young girl in tow. A girl who would become Eliza Bell. Jenna's head swam with the weight of what she now knew. Cassandra had taken Ava, raised her as someone else. Karen had either helped or looked the other way. And the world had moved on, forgetting Ava Harper ever existed. But Jenna hadn't. Still, knowledge wasn't the same as proof. She needed something definitive. Something the courts couldn't ignore. So she did the one thing she swore she'd never do. Cross a boundary. She returned to Karen Bell's house one afternoon under the guise of returning a thank you gift. Karen welcomed her warmly, unsuspecting. As they chatted in the foyer, Jenna asked to use the restroom. In the hallway, she passed a small wooden shelf. On it, a brush. A simple pink hairbrush with Eliza's name stickered on the handle. Jenna hesitated only a moment before gently plucking a single hair from the bristles. She apologized to herself, to her daughter, and slipped it into her jacket pocket. The DNA test was quick, quiet, done through a private lab. Just one test. One answer. Jenna didn't eat or sleep for days. Finally, the results arrived. She opened the email. The screen loaded. Her eyes scanned until they locked on one line. Probability of maternity, 99.998%. Eliza Bell was Ava Harper. Her daughter was alive. But now came the hardest part, reclaiming her without losing her all over again. Eliza Bell had always thought of her childhood as foggy. Not blank, exactly, but oddly stitched together. Memories came in flashes, some vivid, others dull and broken. She remembered colors. Music. A woman singing to her, though not Karen. She remembered hospitals, the hum of fluorescent lights. A birthday cake, once. And that scar on her shoulder. One Karen always said came from a tree branch fall in the backyard. But recently, with Jenna around, the fragments began to stir. Jenna's presence had started to feel oddly familiar. Her voice, the way she laughed softly through her nose, even the scent of her shampoo. These weren't just new impressions. They were buried memories. Triggered things Eliza didn't realize she'd stored. Back at home, Karen noticed the change. Eliza had started asking more questions. About Cassandra. About their move to Monroe. About her early years. Karen became rigid, evasive. Why stir things up? She asked over dinner one night. Some memories don't need to be remembered. That night, Eliza found her old photo albums. There were pictures from when she was 6, then 8, but none before. No baby photos. No early birthdays. Just a gap that seemed to stretch across her early life like a missing chapter. Then came the ultimatum. Karen found out about Jenna's second visit. She forbade Eliza from seeing her again. She's manipulating you. Karen snapped, trembling with what Eliza had never seen before, fear. You don't know who she really is. But Eliza couldn't stop thinking about Jenna. The stories she told. The warmth she brought. The sadness in her eyes that seemed to mirror her own. So she waited until the weekend. Then she slipped out. She met Jenna near the dance studio, hidden behind the alley where delivery trucks parked. Jenna was already waiting, a hopeful breath caught in her throat. They sat on a bench. The late afternoon sun cast golden lines through the trees, and the silence between them felt like something ancient, familiar. I think I've always known you, Eliza whispered. Jenna smiled, but her eyes were wet. Tell me everything you remember. Eliza began to speak. Bits and pieces came out. A fuzzy birthday in a tiny apartment. A sandbox near a duck pond. The sound of waves on a vacation, maybe California. And then, a memory she hadn't thought of in years. I had a bike once, she said. It was red, with streamers on the handles. I crashed it in a big park, near a fountain. Scraped my shoulder really bad. Still have the scar. She pulled back the fabric of her shirt, just slightly. There, on her right shoulder blade, was a faint white mark. Jenna leaned in to look. Her hand trembled. Her heart dropped. She remembered that crash. She remembered running barefoot across Lincoln Park, screaming Ava's name as blood dripped from her tiny shoulder. The red bike had been a birthday gift. A fourth birthday. Ava had named it Cherry. Jenna sat back, stunned. The details. The scar. The bike. They weren't just coincidences. Eliza looked down at her lap. I asked Karen about it once, she said. She told me it never happened, that I must have dreamed it. Jenna shook her head slowly, her voice a whisper. You didn't dream it, Ava. You lived it. Eliza looked up at her, eyes wide, stunned. That was the first time Jenna had said the name aloud. Ava, a name Eliza had never heard. But it rang in her bones. She whispered it back, like tasting a word she was born to say. Ava. The moment hung in the air, sacred, terrifying, and beautiful. But they both knew it couldn't last. Jenna took Eliza's hand. Things are going to change now. But I promise, we'll do it together. And just beyond the alley, a shadow moved. Karen's car sat idling at the curb, headlights off. She had followed them, and her face, behind the windshield, was unreadable. Later that night, Eliza returns home. But Karen is no longer waiting with dinner. She's packed a suitcase. Jenna Harper sat alone in the motel room, the silence only broken by the quiet hum of the mini fridge and the sound of her fingers anxiously tapping the side of a manila envelope. The DNA results had finally arrived. In it lay a truth she had carried in her heart for over a decade. But this time, it would be backed by science. She pulled out the page slowly, her eyes locking on the sentence halfway down. Probability of maternity, 99.998%. Eliza Bell is biologically related to Jenna Harper. She didn't cry, not at first, just a long, exhausted exhale, like her soul was finally being given permission to breathe. Her daughter, her Ava, was alive. The next steps moved quickly. Jenna turned the results over to authorities. Monroe police reopened the cold case. Detective Luis Marrow, though long retired, was called in for consultation. His files, his notes, particularly the ones about Cassandra's disappearance, were suddenly of intense interest. A search warrant was issued for Karen Bell's home. Officers combed through closets, computers, old boxes in the garage. In the basement, they found a trunk. One Karen had claimed was filled with holiday decorations. Instead, it held documents, forged adoption records, family court paperwork, and a fake death certificate for Cassandra Bell dated 3 years after Ava's disappearance. Karen was arrested at 2:35 p.m. for obstruction of justice and custodial interference. Eliza, now officially Ava, was taken into protective custody, with Jenna at her side. They sat in silence at the intake center, the awkwardness of time and trauma stretching between them like a river neither quite knew how to cross. That night, Jenna and Ava checked into a safe location provided by social services. It was quiet, sterile, but it was safe. Jenna told her daughter bedtime stories, ones Ava once loved. The paper moon, the rabbit who couldn't sleep. Eliza didn't remember the words, but she remembered the voice. The world had finally confirmed what Jenna's heart had always known. But not all the questions were answered. Authorities attempted to confirm Karen's version of Cassandra's fate. According to her, Cassandra had died years ago, depressed, unstable, drowning in grief after the abduction. She claimed she'd only taken Ava in to honor her sister's final wish, to give the girl a life of stability. But there was no death certificate, no obituary, no witness, no boat, no proof. Detective Marrow, now involved again out of sheer moral duty, remembered something odd from years ago, a missing persons file filed by a homeless shelter volunteer in Oregon. A woman, early 30s, calling herself Cassie, who'd come in looking worn down and scared, clutching a child's red hoodie. She vanished before the volunteer could get her full name. The file had been forgotten, never matched to any major case. He pulled it up. The date matched. The description matched. But the woman had never been identified, and no one had seen her again. Now, they believed it may have been Cassandra, on the run, afraid, and very possibly a victim herself. Perhaps she had never intended to keep Ava forever. Perhaps she meant to give her back. Or maybe, the story was darker, that Cassandra had trusted the wrong person with Ava and met a tragic end soon after. Jenna stared at the photo sketch from that old report. The cheekbones were right. The mouth. The pain behind the eyes. There were too many unknowns. And maybe, some of them would never be resolved. But one thing was certain. The little girl who vanished from Lincoln Park, who the world thought was gone forever, was home. As authorities dug deeper, more revelations surfaced. The adoption agency used to place Eliza had been under investigation years ago for unethical practices, cutting corners, falsifying documents, sometimes even placing children without proper background checks. It had shut down in disgrace, but many of its files were lost. Ava's placement had been one of those questionable entries. Whether Karen knew more than she let on remained a question under investigation. But for now, she was behind bars, awaiting trial. Ava sat on the motel bed, knees pulled to her chest, watching the television on mute. Jenna approached, sitting beside her. "You okay?" she asked gently. Ava hesitated. "I don't know who I am." Jenna wrapped an arm around her. "You're Ava. You always have been. And I'm your mom." They sat in silence for a while. Then Ava whispered, "Can I still dance?" Jenna smiled. "You can do anything you want now." The court hearing was closed to the public. Just a judge, a few officials, a counselor, and two women who had lost 12 years to time, silence, and uncertainty. Jenna Harper sat at the plaintiff's table, her hands trembling only slightly now. She had spent over a decade learning how to sit still while carrying pain like a heartbeat. Her daughter sat beside her. Officially Ava Harper once more, though she still signed her name as Eliza Bell on most forms. The court ruled in Jenna's favor. After DNA confirmation, months of interviews, evaluations, and a full investigation into the Bell household, custody was transferred. Eliza would live with Jenna under joint supervision of the state for 6 months, after which full custody would be reinstated pending no further complications. Karen Bell had been sentenced to 15 years for obstruction, falsification of legal documents, and custodial interference. She showed little remorse in court, though her face crumpled during sentencing. Her final words before being taken away were, "I gave her a life. That's more than Cassandra ever could." Jenna didn't reply. Weeks passed. The headlines faded. The media frenzy dimmed. But the healing process was just beginning. Jenna and Ava, still calling herself Eliza most of the time, moved into a small house on the edge of their hometown. Familiar streets greeted them. New routines formed. Grocery runs. Shared dinners. Nights spent learning each other's habits again. Jenna's love for crossword puzzles. Eliza's odd fascination with old music videos from the 90s. But some wounds didn't scab over so easily. Eliza would wake at night, gasping from dreams she couldn't explain. She would stand silently in the hallway, fingers grazing the tattoo on her shoulder. Cass, it read, small and simple, forever inked over the crescent birthmark she was born with. One afternoon, Jenna found her daughter in the bathroom, staring at the mirror. "I don't know who I am," Eliza whispered. "You don't have to choose between them," Jenna replied. "Ava or Eliza. You're both. You're more." Eliza nodded slowly. But it would take time. A month later, Jenna suggested something quiet but meaningful. A visit to Lincoln Park, the place where it all began. They went on a sunny Tuesday. Not too many people around. The same rusted swing set still stood. A few fresh benches had been added, and a new playground had been built nearby. But the heart of the park, the old tree line, the gravel paths, remained untouched by time. They sat on the same bench. The one Jenna had collapsed onto the day Ava disappeared. The one police cordoned off. The one that marked, in her memory, the exact place where her life had changed forever. Eliza looked around slowly. She didn't remember the park, not really. Just flashes. A red bicycle, wind in her hair, a dog barking in the distance. "It's strange," she said, "being somewhere your body remembers, but your mind doesn't." They sat in silence, listening to the faint creak of the swings. Jenna gently took her daughter's hand. "You know," she said, "your tattoo. It's her name, but it's also something else." "What?" "It's a bridge. Between the girl she raised and the girl you were born to be." Eliza touched her shoulder. The ink shimmered slightly in the sun. "Cass," she whispered. "She saved me, even if she broke me." Jenna nodded, tears welling up in her eyes. She'd carried so much hate for Cassandra, so much anger. But now, all that remained was a raw ache. She had taken Ava, but she hadn't harmed her. Not in the ways Jenna had feared all those years. Cassandra had fled from something, and in her fear, she had stolen a child. But she'd also raised her with care. Perhaps guilt, perhaps love, perhaps both. In the end, the truth didn't justify what happened, but it made room for healing. Back home, Jenna hung a new frame on the wall, 2 side-by-side photos. One of Ava at age 4, grinning beside her birthday bike. The other, a recent photo of Eliza mid-dance recital, arms raised in perfect form, eyes closed in grace. Beneath them, a plaque read, "Still Ava, always Eliza, home at last." The story ended not with vengeance, but with justice, with accountability, with a girl walking forward into her future, and a mother finally allowed to walk beside her. Justice had been served. But even more than that, a family had been reunited. And in a world of lost children and unanswered questions, that felt like a miracle.